Justice for Daunte Wright. Closing arguments are expected today in the Kim Potter manslaughter trial. On Friday, the former Minnesota police officer broke down on the stand. She recounted what happened when she shot and killed Daunte Wright during a traffic stop earlier this year.
Had a look of fear on his face. It's nothing I've seen before.
Did you say anything when you saw this? What did you do?
We were struggling. We were trying to keep him from driving away. It just went chaotic. And then I remember yelling, "Taser, taser, taser," and nothing happened. And then he told me I shot
him. Wow. Let's bring in our justice correspondent, Candace Kelley, for more on what we can expect today. Good morning, Candace.
Good morning.
Kim Potter, as we just saw, took the stand in her own defense. What did the prosecution and defense pull from her that was important?
I think, first of all, when we look at the defense, who was the one to bring her to the stand, I think what they got out was that she was remorseful. Obviously, we saw that from the soundbite. We also got this confirmed notion from Kim Potter that she was scared for what was going on with the woman who was in the passenger seat, which ended up being Daunte Wright's girlfriend. But at the time, there was a protective order against him from a woman. She just didn't know if that was the woman that had the protective order. So they got that out. Certainly her remorse was on stand, and certainly her remorse is on trial in a sense when we look at this. But when the prosecution came forward, what they set up for Kim Potter was that she was someone who did not follow the rules in terms of testing her taser. She hadn't tested her taser not only on that day, but on several other days. She didn't follow the rules in terms of a police officer checking on the person that she may have hurt. Daunte Wright, she didn't go after him. She didn't communicate to the police officers down the street where Daunte Wright had the accident, according to her, that whatever happened to him, that he was shot. And of course, that kind of created chaos, as she put it, just all over. And I think what was really key that the prosecution and the defense brought out was that she would not have even stopped Daunte Wright to begin with, had it not been for the officer that she was training. And so, Najahe, this brings up a whole lot of questions, not only about what was going on in her mind, but just police training altogether. If she wasn't at the beginning going to stop him, then what was she doing in that situation at all? Overall, the prosecution brought out that she did not follow the rules and that generally she had bad judgment.
And we saw Potter wouldn't even acknowledge some basics like the difference between the taser and the gun. How do you think the jury received this testimony?
You know, I think that the jury saw this as someone who was just trying to evade the truth, the facts as we have known them during this trial. Why couldn't she acknowledge that? In fact, that seemed to be her MO while she was on the stand. She didn't acknowledge a lot. What she did was she talked about chaos, but I think there was also a lot of chaos with her taking the stand. She didn't answer questions. She answered questions with, "I guess," and "I don't know," if that's what the record says. Really, she was kind of argumentative at some points, even though there were no objections in terms of how she was answering. She really was borderline someone who just did not want to answer the questions. And at the end of the day, it showed someone who may not have been even in a position to even be an officer. She couldn't handle a high-stress situation. She certainly broke down on the stand to a point where there was not a lot of dots that she could connect in terms of her answers. Certainly it was fine to her to cry on stand, but she cried almost all throughout it and then did not even answer a lot of basic questions and facts. And when you have someone that takes the stand, especially someone who is defending him or herself, you want to know their narrative, what was going on in their mind. And unfortunately, Najahe, she was unable to get that out.
We know we can't get in the minds of the jurors, but they didn't have to put her up there. Was it a mistake to put Potter in the stand? And if so, why or why not?
I think it was. I think that along the way, you know, there have been a lot of days for the defense, just checkbox after checkbox. I know I would come on here and I talked a lot about how it was the defense win, the defense win. But when they put her on the stand, you know, there's a narrative that has to be created. And attorneys, they train their witnesses and they go through practices, very, very deep practices. They cross-examine, they try to cross all of their T's. I don't know if this was a surprise to them or not, but the fact that she was unable to get out a clear story, a narrative. In fact, what was going on in her mind that day, we still don't know. So I think at the end of the day, it was a mistake for her to take the stand. If this was the MO that she was going through, in other words, not committing to any, almost any facts, it was just the wrong way to do it. I think we ended up with a police officer that looked like she didn't know what was doing at all, and especially not the day that Daunte Wright was shot.
And we have time for just one more question. Candace, what's next?
Right next we're going to have closing arguments today. I would expect that the jury would begin deliberating today. In fact, it was very interesting how short Kim Potter was on the stand. But by tomorrow or by Wednesday, I bet that we will have a verdict. My guess is by tomorrow, because again, it was a shortened trial in terms of the content. She was on the stand for a very short time. It wasn't a lot of ways to understand what was going on in her mind. I bet we will have our verdict by tomorrow.
Oh, wow, that soon. Candace, thank you so much for sharing your insight with us here on Start Your Day.